Hi, I'm Mona Channet, and this is Beyond Unboxed. This is a recorded conversation from WestkentRadio where I spoke with Dr. Louise Newson, one of the UK's leading voices on women's health. Millions of women are still navigating perimenopause and menopause without the right support, often unheard or dismissed. This conversation is about understanding hormones, what's really happening in the body, and why it's being overlooked and what needs to be changed. Hello, Louise. It's nice to have you here.
Thanks for inviting me.
I'd like to go right into the meat of things. You're on a mission to challenge what's been told about hormones. So let's start there. What have we been getting wrong?
So we've got so much wrong actually when it comes to hormones because a lot of people don't understand what they are and that they're naturally occurring substances in our body that affect our cells. Every single cell in our body responds to hormones, and we've got hundreds of them. The hormones that I mean, obviously as a doctor, I'm interested in all hormones, but the hormones I'm most interested in with my work are three hormones: progesterone, estradiol, and testosterone. And they still cause so much confusion. And one of the big confusions is we have synthetic versions around. We label as hormones, but they're not. So the hormonal contraceptive pills, HRT, that have been prescribed in the past associated with risks, they're not the same as our natural hormones. So one of the things I'm very on is allowing women a lot of education and knowledge so they can understand what their own hormones are doing in their bodies. And then we can understand more what happens when those hormone levels fluctuate, change, and reduce.
And you've mentioned that there are decades of misinformation.
Mm.
Where did that misinformation actually come from?
So a lot of it comes, I'm very interested in the history of hormones. So once they first discovered these three important hormones, progesterone, estradiol, testosterone, they realized they came from the brain, also other organs in our bodies, including the brain and the ovaries. But what they did quite quickly was commercialize them. So they made these synthetic hormones so they could be sold with pharmaceutical companies to women. And then they not long after started to make the contraception hormones. So this was a big problem because people started using the word hormone when it wasn't hormone. And so this is why people talk about risks when they're forgetting our own hormones are natural chemical messengers that work, like I say, on every cell and have very important biological actions.
You mentioned the word hormones a lot and it defines a lot about us.
Mm.
And that brings me to how deeply are they linked to things like anxiety and depression, brain fog?
Yeah, so important. So those three hormones, progesterone, estradiol, testosterone, like I say, are made in our brains as well. And they regulate the way that our brain works and functions, but also they regulate levels of other hormones, important hormones in our brain. So such as dopamine and adrenaline and noradrenaline and cortisol, our stress hormone. And so those balance of hormones is really important. Our body doesn't work in isolation. Everything works closely together. And obviously, for our brain to function properly, we need a good balance of those hormones. And one of the most common symptoms that occur when the hormones aren't balanced are symptoms like brain fog, anxiety, low mood. A lot of women get very low and quite intrusive thoughts as well. So the mental health component of hormones is so linked but being dismissed and forgotten so long, and this is where women aren't being believed and listened to or treated appropriately with the right dose and type of hormones.
You've been very vocal about medical misogyny. What does
Mm.
that look like in terms of women trying to get help?
Do you know, I think it's awful and it's getting worse. Maybe it's getting worse because I'm hearing more. I'm not sure. Because for many years as a doctor, I didn't hear those stories because I was just working in my local practice. And now, obviously, I'm exposing myself to a lot of women through social media and so forth. But the stories, not just on my social media, but others, of women just not being listened to. I have a chapter in my book that's coming out about women not being listened to. And just my own small family, we've had various medical conditions where we've had to really fight to be believed, to be listened to, and also receive the right treatment. So I feel that it's getting worse in some ways because women are getting more knowledge. A lot of women we see and hear from through the Balance app are being empowered with information and knowledge. They're going to ask for natural hormones from their doctors and they're being dismissed. So it's even worse than it used to be because women seem to have more knowledge and understanding. They know what they want and they can't get it.
You struck up an interesting thought about how early should women and girls actually be educated about menopause and perimenopause because everyone is educated about the period, when it's going to come about,
Mm.
but no one ever talks about it until after it happens.
Yeah, I feel very strongly that everybody, so girls, boys, children, adults, need to know about hormones and not to make it normalized because the problem is people are taught about periods, but they're not taught about the important roles of hormones. And these hormonal fluctuations really can affect a lot of girls in school with PMS and PMDD, premenstrual dysphoric disorder. Too many of these young girls are being given and offered the contraceptive pill to try and normalize their hormones, but what they're doing is blocking their own hormones and setting them up for future problems. So it's really important that they understand that those hormones that are produced in their ovaries also have a function on their brains and the rest of their body.
For someone who feels dismissed by their GP, how can they advocate for themselves?
It's really difficult. And one of the things I feel very strongly is as a GP and a doctor myself is that we want to have a really good relationship with our patients, but we need to, like I say, work with our patients and understand their concerns, their wishes, what they want for their future health and treatment. So through Balance App, we're doing a lot of advocacy work where we're actually helping people, giving them the evidence, giving them the guidelines, giving them words that they can use for their doctors as well. If they don't work, then one of the other things I feel very strongly about is that women and patients should know that they can get a second, third, or fourth opinion. They can go and see someone else because having the right hormonal treatment helps your future health and lives. I see a lot of women who have PMDD and PMS and they're in their 20s. And if I can balance their hormones properly, their future lives, their future careers, their future health is so much better.
Speaking of support, you created your Balance app, which I have
Yes.
downloaded and was impressed, very impressed. It has over about 1.5 million downloads. What does it tell you about the gap in the support that women are not getting?
Yeah, so obviously it's a global app. So we hear from women from all over the world, and they tell us the same actually, that they're not being listened to, they're not being believed. So what the aim of the app is to empower people with evidence-based information so they can make the right choices themselves about their future hormone health. And it's amazing. We've got a huge community of women on the app. We're constantly adding more information in ways that people can understand. We've just had some of it translated into Spanish to try and reach more
Mm.
people. And we're shaping it. So it's not a menopause app, it's a female or women's hormone app, really. So anybody can find information about either for themselves or for their daughters or their partners or their work colleagues. And so it should be the first place where people can go and get proper information. I review every single amount of content on there, and I work collaboratively with some really great experts as well. And we've got some really good things that we're planning in the future too.
There's a lot of fear around the hormone treatments like HRT. What's reality versus what women have led to believe?
So the reality is when people say HRT, we have to be really clear what they're talking about because there are different types of hormone treatments. So HRT stands for hormone replacement therapy. And I don't like these letters actually because they're not describing enough what they are. In the past, older types of hormone treatments were synthetic, so chemically altered, and we know they're associated with small risks of cancer, clot, stroke, heart disease, and so forth. So these are the same as the hormone contraceptions. So any
Mm.
hormonal contraception, any synthetic hormone has risks. We actually prescribe the natural body identical hormones. So they're the same chemical structure as our own hormones. Our own hormones are not associated with risks, but they're associated with benefits. So people who take the natural body identical hormones have benefits without the risks. So we need to be really reassured about that. What's really ironic and frustrating actually is a lot of women are taking contraception. No one's talking to them about the risks, although the risks are small, they're still there. Whereas somehow you just say the word HRT and everyone thinks they're going to get breast cancer, which is not true.
Could you please clarify when you say natural versus what some
Mm,
people might feel are herbs and supplements they could
yeah.
possibly take over the counter?
So it basically means that they are the same structure as our own hormones. Every hormone has its own chemical structure. They are only available on prescription, and that was something that was decided many years ago, although they're a lot safer than many things we can buy over the counter. So they're available on the NHS. So the estrogen is estradiol, and it's given as a patch or gel, usually through the skin, straight into the bloodstream. There's the natural progesterone, which is either given as a oral capsule or a pessary, and then the natural testosterone is either a cream or a gel. So then the body doesn't know the difference between the hormone that's made from the ovaries, for example, or the hormone that we're giving as part of the hormone treatments.
Excellent. Your tour is about education and also empowerment, which is great.
Mm.
I love empowerment. What can people expect when they come to see the show?
Well, it's going to be hopefully interesting, but I don't really want people to totally enjoy it because I want them to feel uncomfortable to make an action for change. It's called Breaking the Cycle, and a lot of the information I'm going to be given is about how we haven't broken the cycle, especially regarding mental health and hormones. And I'm really going to unpick a lot about the history, why it's in such a mess, and why women are being medicalized with the wrong treatment. And I'm going to be talking a lot about hormones and how they work. So it's quite harrowing thinking about how women have been treated in the past, in the last century and earlier, over the last sort of 20 to 80 years. But actually, even now, I'm reflecting to how it is now. It's still actually not much better. So there's lots of facts that I'm going to be revealing, and there's also going to be a lot of time for question and answers from the audience. So the audience can hopefully come with a question that they'll write, and I'll answer as many as possible because it's an opportunity for people to be given the information that they want as well.
Right, and that would be at the Royal Tunbridge Wells Assembly Hall Theatre on the 27th of April. Why take it to the stage?
So I did a theatre tour 18 months ago. It's different content to what I'm planning for this theatre tour. But, it's really wonderful to have a real live audience, to feel the energy from the room. My work is very responsive to women. I feel like I'm here as a storyteller to unpick the evidence, allow people to have some of my knowledge. I've got a lot of scientific knowledge and I have a huge wealth of clinical experience. And I feel it's a privilege to be able to share that with people. So to do it on a live stage is just incredible, actually. I enjoyed the energy in the room when I went last time, and I hope it will be
Mhm.
the same. I came to Tunbridge Wells and it was a fabulous audience. So I'm just enjoying doing things different. I'm quite unconventional the way that I work. I never thought as a doctor I would be doing a theatre
Mhm.
tour. But actually, people learn in different ways. And if they learn when they're sitting in the theatre with friends, then that's brilliant.
And it's nothing like empowerment. If every woman actually and every man listening today understood one thing about hormones, what should it be?
Oh, it's a great question. I think the most important thing is that our hormones are natural in our body and we need to have them to function properly. Without them, it can cause problems, and every single woman has hormonal changes that affect them.
You've been listening to my conversation with Louise Newson, challenging the way we think about hormones, health, and the stories we've been told for far too long. I'm Mona Channet. Thanks for listening.